Hey lovelies, hexlings and or Cauldron crew. In this video I'm going to paint a baby Rotfly from the Grandfather's Gardener's Nergle collection. So to caveat, I was talking to my friend Pete over on his stream, and he is War Dolly Studio, and we were like having a bit of a chat while he was streaming, saying about new people to model painting who come from an artist background and how they may have an advantage over like some other people, being that they have done art and have some comprehension of color and light theory. And I recommended the book Color and Light by James Gurney, which is a guide for realistic painters. It does, however, lend itself to like anybody who wants to paint. So I really recommend this book, and I've had this book since I think like 2013, something like that. And the amount of times that I reference this book is insane. So this is like my 20th model I think I've ever painted, something like that. And I am very pleased with it. So what I decided to do would be to paint this up in grayscale. So I started off with, I built it, I zenithal primed it, and then I started painting in values, just simply using black and white. So the left-hand side of the fly is like my brightest side. The other side, not so bright, but still has color. The wings, I did them white because technically they'd be clear. Underneath, obviously, would be darker, so I left that black. And all I did was just went in and figured out like where I figured the light would be hitting our fly and where the shadows would be, and then also like trying to create some texture at the same time, and just kind of giving this like a form so it wasn't just kind of like a rounded plastic. So working in values with grayscale is a really good way for anybody to sort of get a good idea of how light reacts onto an item, onto an object, whether it be flat, round, or textured, or whatever your object is. And so I was trying to keep that in mind while like painting wings, that they would be transparent normally, while painting the round body and painting the different elements, as well as also being very mindful that some things I wanted to be a lot lighter, and I knew I would have to lay some white down. So I'm literally using Acryl titanium white as my white, and I'm using Vallejo, I think it's a game color, could be the model color, but black. And I was just sort of playing around. I did outline the wings in white, and then I outlined the wings in black, and then I decided I liked the black more, and then later we ended up having to go back in and outline them again because I painted over them. Here I am literally just adding highlights where I think like some highlights might be, and then smudging it out with my finger. You could use a brush or a pom-pom tool or a sponge, whatever you have. This character also has some little tick type creatures on it, so I thought I'd paint them in as well, and they are more kind of light in tone. And I don't think I did too badly with my grayscale painting, in all honesty. It has been quite some time since I did that, and I've never done that on a model before, so I feel like it worked out really well. Painting in 3D, trying to think in 3D, which is a lot easier than trying to paint 3D and 2D. For anybody who's ever like tried to paint in like say Photoshop or something, or Procreate or something like that, wrapping your head around that can be quite difficult. Anyway, so this is just me waffling now because I had to double speed up this, so we weren't sat here for literally like 2-3 hours, and some bits I'll sped up a little bit more just because we were sat watching paint dry, and that's not fun. So here I kind of just decided that I wanted to, the creature has like bile or phlegm or some kind of mucousy type substance coming out of its nose. And then I decided to create a ground with that also as well. I knew that I wanted it to be like a lime green bile color. I used a few different greens in the end, but here I am just putting in the white so that that can give me a really bright base for that green to go onto. So I wasn't quite sure what I was going to do with the base. I knew that maybe I would add mud or texture something. Maybe I would include some kraut cover products, which I got from PK Pro, and I am an affiliate of PK Pro. So if you want, you can absolutely check out my link and also my discount code. If you click on my link and make a purchase, I will get a small commission at no additional cost to you. And if you use my coupon code, you will get 5% off your order. BK Pro is the main distributor of Kraut Cover, and I will mention them again when I actually use the product in a bit. But for now, I just want to sort of caveat that in here while we had a little bit of space, and I'm just still applying the white and the black and the grey tones in between. So I'm quite happy to mix my colours. I know colour theory quite well, and so I don't have an issue with that. Some people I know like to buy the paints that come in like the trifecta paints, or like have groupings of paint, or literally just buy the paint colours and have like 10 shades from black through to white. And yes, using white isn't necessarily the best thing to do. I would normally probably use an off-white. As Pete was saying on his stream, using an off-white is better than using a white, because then when you want to highlight, where do you go from white? You can't. And you know what they say about if you go black. So I'm just adding in shadows here. I want to add, like, I have some different paints that are two-toned. When you shine them, when you rotate them one way, they're one color, and when you rotate them the other. I think these are also known as like Flash or Chameleon, or there's a few names for them now. The ones I have, I've got a few different brands, including like the ones, the Color Shift by Folk Art, and Jacquard's Lumiere paints. That I think they're the main two that I use in this, but I do have a few other ones as well, like Jacquard, and I would love to get the Chameleon ones from Green Stuff World, and I would love to get the it's like a galaxy. I don't actually know what they're called from Vallejo, but there's 3 different sets and they've got like a galaxy on the box. So here we are. We're up to the point where I'm going to start bringing in what color do I want, and I knew that there was going to be a green in there. I figured I wanted to do the body purple and the wings like a bluey green. Then I saw this black that's like a black gold, and I thought, oh, that would be better for the body. And then I decided to do the wings. The blue actually, it went weird on the palette, and it created like a blue and a green blue. And then there was also the purple, which was also pink. And it all has sort of flecks of gold in it. And I'm not a massive gold person, but I'm really glad that this was how it was, and it turned out really well. I am so impressed with the wings. So all I'm trying to do is water it down so that I can put this over the top of my value painting, and hopefully don't lose my values that I have just worked hard putting in. And actually, I don't think it did too badly. Definitely watering these down, adding more water to thin them down was the key. But in thinning them down, they were also losing their like flash properties. So that was a little bit annoying. I do go in and like at the end of day 1, I was quite pleased, loved the wings, wasn't too sure about the body, and I go back and forth a few times on the different colors for the ticks. Originally I did them in green, and then I thought, no, like I don't want them to all be green. But you will see that I will not continue to spoil what went on from here. I did also think that I was going to use effects on this, so I grabbed out my army painter, and I think it's called something like Disgusting Bile or something like that. But I will put a list of all the paints and mediums used, etc. in the description below, so you can go and find them. And here's me just sort of pulling that into over the top of the white. Now I did like it, but I think it was just a bit too bright. So after I do this layer, I do go off and find my Duncan Rhodes. I have a bio color. It's a green. Oh, my brain does not work. I cannot remember names for things. Yeah, I'd had every intention to film the wet palette as well, so I could do like a side-by-side so you could actually see the wet palette and what paints I was putting down and what paints I was picking up. But like all other things, I was just so pleased that I was actually in the square and not off camera for this, that I, of course, forgot to turn my other device on to record the wet palette. So lesson learned, and I will try and improve next time. But here I am just literally going over, trying to fill out where I want, trying to put some of those values back in, because we did lose a few of them while painting. And all I'm doing is just adding black and or white to the metallic-y paint and trying to mix up my own grey that still has like the metallic in it. And then I want to try and put a bit of purple in it. All in all, yeah, really, really happy with those wings. Just really happy with the wings. And I thought I would add more different colors to the wings so that it gave more of like an oil slick, just to see what it looked like. And I was so pleased when it worked out. Like, you have no idea how pleased I am at how these have turned out. So this creature, I imagine, would be from like a murky swamp, and I haven't really given it a character name. I've just stuck with the original, and I haven't really created a backstory for it, which, if you know me, is very strange. But it puts me in mind of playing Fallout, which is a game that I love. I have the little bloatflies, and I know that they call this a Rotfly. I needed to paint this, like, there was no question. This is not why I bought this particular box of models. I did buy it for a different character, which is going to be a challenge entry, and it's a personal work that I'm working on outside of YouTube and stuff. But I am very happy with how Emily is coming along, and I'm happy with how, I think he's called Squort, this little fly of mine. At least that's what I'm going to call him. And I was just really happy with how it was all coming together. I did start using that metallic-y colour green in here over the top of the two thin coats. And eventually I end up adding, what do I end up adding? I end up adding resin over the top and some white highlights in places, which again really worked out because obviously our white was not our highlight here. It was just a base to put down so that the paints would show up. And that's kind of one of the differences as well, needing to know like where to put value and then where you need to just put white, otherwise the color's not going to show. It's not going to read well. It's going to look dark, like way darker than you intended. So all in all, I was just having fun, playing around, putting paint on a thing, and this was meant to be a live stream over the weekend, and I got so many plans and a whole Q&A and friends coming, and yeah, I had every technical difficulty you could possibly imagine. So I can only apologize for that. So instead, what you're going to get is this video where I'm just going to paint up the whole thing from start to end, and I'm going to talk about how my background in art actually influenced this piece, and overall learning how to hold a brush, how to use a brush. Most of the brushes that I used here are actually Tesseract, the workhorse brushes, but the Postman broke one, so this brush that I'm using currently is the head of one on a different handle, and then the Dog's Chewed the other one. But all in all, I keep this one for working with metallics, I keep the other one for working with regular paints, and I'm really loving this brush. I wish I wasn't loving this brush because I'm going to have to go and buy another one of this brush, and it's not a cheap brush. It is, of course, a sable hair brush, and I will put Stu's links and everything below because I am nice. So, yeah, really enjoying that brush. I have got some new brushes to try out though, so I'm really excited for that. So definitely be sure to subscribe. And I'm hoping to do a brush giveaway over on my Instagram. So if you haven't subscribed to me or followed me on Instagram, definitely make sure you do those things as well because awesome things are coming. So I've also ordered some Acryl heads because I'm not too happy with this nozzle and how it squeezes out and there's still paint all over the top, and it's a mess and a waste of medium. So I have those coming, and I'm very excited to try those out and see how they fit. They should fit. I believe they are from the same company. They're just alternative caps. But yeah, so we've got those. And then here, all I'm doing is trying to put a bit more purple in. I think I decided at this point that I wanted the body to actually be purple. Going back to my original plan of the purple body. And here I'm just putting some more white highlights on the brightest areas so that I can paint over them again and lose those values again. But it's okay because it's all part of my learning and my process, and I think it worked out quite well. I tried to darken the eyes with this black gold and it looked okay, but I did end up going in the next day with a Liquitex black ink, which is kind of my go-to for eyes, the Liquitex black ink. I also really like the Liquitex white ink for doing the Zenithal priming through the airbrush with a base of Vallejo black primer. And that is, in fact, how I primed this little beast, was using the Vallejo black primer and then also the Liquitex white ink over the top through the airbrush using glary airbrushes. And just a cheaper compressor thing with a tank and still learning. It's always learning. And I think that is one of the biggest things to take away from any art piece that you do, is always make sure you learn something. Doesn't matter what it is, just learn a thing. Try something new. Try something that you did before, but try to refine it. So here I am trying to figure out how to paint these really tiny veins on this creature without going and getting my magnifying glasses. And if you don't have the magnifying glasses, you are missing out, because I bought those and I completely ended up repainting my orcs faces. Like, I thought they were good before, and then I got these glasses. I was like, oh, they are not good. No. So I repainted those, and I'm not mad to say that they were like in the top 20, things I've just painted. I'm still learning, still new, and I feel like I have imposter syndrome for like making these videos, but people seem to like to hear me talk and talk about my process and watch me art. So while ever anybody wants to come do that, I will continue to do so. I'm trying to put videos out every Saturday on YouTube, and I'm not doing too badly at that. There are occasional other videos that get added. I am working on figuring out when I can live stream, and other content will be posted on my coffee blog, where you could subscribe and see some more extra behind the scenes stuff with me. I am cancelling my more spicier tier, just to personal conflictions, and some really awesome things coming up, and I wouldn't want them to get in the way of potential affiliations and future works and stuff, because while they are not nude, they are not pornographic, they are like still on the spicier side, and I figured that that's not what I want to put out. So from now on, it'll just be my regular Cauldron Crew tier, and if people want to subscribe to that, they can, and if they don't, then that's okay too. I also have a Discord, which is an awesome little community of like just really awesome people. So I will put the link for my Discord below as well. And if you click on any of the links and they don't work, go check my link tree at awitchesminis, because pound to a penny, the active link does work in the link tree. It'll have all my most up-to-date links and information, as well as my affiliate information and other stuff that I have mentioned. And the list for my Cauldron Crew as well, so you can access their social media. And I definitely so I think that's more or less it for talking about my links and stuff. I'm not really on any other social media, streaming via YouTube, and just working on learning a thing, making friends, seeing where the hobby goes. And this is me coming from an artist background. I went to art college, and I have many years doing art. It's what I've always done for as long as I can ever remember. 36 now, and I've always done art. So I actually got into model painting because I had a jewelry business, and I've since long closed that, but that's by the by. And I wanted to paint like small things for in jewelry or on jewelry, and I thought that learning to paint models would be the way forward to doing that. Unfortunately, I fell in love with painting models, and my jewelry business wasn't really happening, so I closed that, mostly because of COVID, mostly because of just like all the restrictions now with shipping to the EU or not being able to ship to places. It's just a nightmare, and it's problematic, and then the cost of shipping as well. So that is either on a permanent hiatus or hold or something. I haven't decided what I'm going to do with that. But I've definitely decided that I am back in the model community. So I first started a couple of years ago. I think it was in 2022. I painted a few things that I printed, and I really enjoyed it, and I had a wonderful time painting. Then I got COVID, and I was really sick. And then life just happened. My jewelry business, me trying to recover after having COVID, and just all around, so didn't happen. Very sad. I lost touch with painting models. Then I got back into it about a year later, painted one thing, and then again life happened. But now I've been back for 3 months and I think I'm sticking with it this time because I've got such amazing friends in the community. I have my Discord, or the Discord, I should say, because I don't feel it's really mine. Like, they make it more of a community than I do. So yeah, so here I just decided to glaze over the wings, and I kind of wish that I hadn't. It did leave like I used a Vallejo varnish in satin, and it did just like leave a white. So I did end up going over the wings and then realized that I hadn't turned my camera back on. So there might be a little bit of a disconnection between what it looks like now and what it looks like the next day. But yeah, so I came back to model community a couple of months ago because I just missed it and I enjoyed it. And I have some friends who are also in the hobby, or some friends from outside of the hobby who are in the hobby. And they were like, come back and paint some stuff. And I thought I would try. But overall, I was really happy with how it was looking. I did keep trying to clear up some of that to get it so it wasn't pooling. And it wasn't so much a pooling, it just kind of like, I think it merged all of the pigments and the mica and stuff and just, it like wiped out the effect that the mica powder in the paint has to create that shine when you tip it. It was still there, it wasn't completely gone, but I did lose a lot of that detail and I was quite sad. So as I said, I painted it back in and then realized I hadn't turned the camera on to paint it back in. So you might see a slight disjoint, but it's okay. So here we are the next day and I'm really loving how it's looking. Like, overall, just really happy. I did decide that I just want to go in and do some final details. So here I'm just mixing up some paints. Not that you can see because my wet palette is completely off the screen now. But I just wanted to make those little tick type creatures a lot more sort of a white grey with maybe a hint of green in them, rather than them being a green. I felt they were competing with the bile or slime or mucus or whatever it is that's coming out of the creature and it's all over the ground. So this is me just attempting to mix paints up, try the colours out on my hand, and then go onto the model and paint them in. And at this point, I feel like we've lost most of our values, or the values are complemented by the paints. I'm not at all mad by any of how it's going. I was a bit anxious about it, but not at all mad. I just kept going, adding in paint and sort of trying to pick colours that I thought resonated well. So I was really happy with how this little creature was looking, and I wanted to add more patchy bits. I wanted him to look less uniform and like smooth while still obeying the shadow and light, so trying to still add those values in. And this particular side is our lightest side, and so that was my main focus. I decided that this side was going to be the main model focus. And then I just kept working the model. Like, I was confused over if I should add some purpley bits in. And then I was like, do you know what? I'm going to go get the Citadel contrast paint. So I just literally went over the whole body, trying to be mindful of any boils or little critters or anything, and trying not to get it on the wings. I just wanted to get the main body. And I didn't want it to pool or gather in any of the recesses. I just wanted to unify the whole thing and make the whole thing purple. And I think this was like the ticket, was like literally just unifying the colours afterwards with some kind of wash. And yeah, I'm like really excited how adding this almost like a filter over the top just brought everything together and really sort of filled in that body and created more of a characteristic than I think I had before. Bringing things to the table for trying to figure out what I want to do to the base. So initially I thought what I would do would be to simply paint the base brown and have like sort of a green as well. There's like a brown and a greeny brown, and I thought I would create like a swamp like texture. So I just painted the entire base using these two colors, mixing them up and applying them differently. I do go in and use AK Interactive. It's actually supposed to be for rust or creating corrosion texture, but I figured it'd do in mud. I just put a little bit in this cup and I added a little bit of paint to it because I wanted it to be a little bit darker. And then I just used a cheap synthetic brush just to apply it all around the base. And I really liked how this was going on. Like, it was much nicer than I thought. I thought it was going to be a lot more of a challenge to work with than it actually was. It was just literally paint and go. Then I had this idea of I could go and get my Common Earth Dark by Krautcover, which I got gifted from PK Pro. And as you can see, I just sprinkled it all over in various places. I didn't do the entire base. I just wanted to put some on there. And I was really surprised how well this actually set up. Like, I was anticipating it coming off and not sticking. But it did genuinely stick. And then I just used a hairdryer to help the whole process in curing, because I am somewhat lazy and I didn't want to have to wait to watch paint dry. I had also put down some black ink onto my wet palette, and then also used some white pro acryl just to like really darken up the eyes and then bring out a highlight. So as I said, I grabbed that hairdryer because I was so frightened at this point that I was going to ruin that base, and I really liked it. And it just cured it like straight away. I took some UV resin and I decided that I was going to put UV resin over anywhere the weather was like slime or bile or whatever this green liquid is. So it looked a little more fluidy. It gives it a little bit more of a dimension as well as looking like liquid. So I thought that would be a really good thing to just add. And I did only end up using my UV torch lamp. Normally I would grab out my nail lamp and cure it, but the torch worked perfectly fine. So I just took a toothpick, literally put some of this UV resin all over in various places, including on the stuff that's actually coming out of like the trunk. Would it be a trunk? Nostril? Nose? Mouth? Whatever that part is. So a fly's mouth is called a proboscis. Probably mispronounced that, but it would be the proboscis area of the fly that is secreting this liquid, which is mostly used for feeding. Like, so basically, it's like an acidy, biley stuff that some flies put down onto creatures to help dissolve them so they can then eat them, which is just lovely. So that's it. I had a really, really good time doing this. I learned some things. I think I've learned a different way of painting models. I'm not saying I'm going to paint every model like this, or that you should even paint a model like this, but it was definitely fun to put down the values first and then like paint over the top, which I kind of feel is like what Slapshot should be, not this Xenophil Prime and go. It should be like, put your values in. Do more work. Make it pretty first. Make it black and white. Try anyway. Try a thing. Have some fun. And in the meanwhile, you can check out my social media links via my link tree. And you can also check out my amazing Cauldron crew. Or you could join them over by joining them on coffee.com/awitchesminis. As said, all links will be in the information below. And that'll do it, guys. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!